So check this out. I've been using that stupid face app thing because it's just interesting. It so convincingly makes you old and stuff. So I was going through the filters, just took a picture, whatever. And here's just the picture I use normally. And here was the picture which is apparently makes you more of a man or HD male. I'm like, holy shit, who is this handsome man? This is not me. How do I become this? I basically had to go out, buy some panties just so I can drop them for that picture of me. Holy shit. What is up, everyone? Tis I, Z Gaming Guy. Welcome to Z Talks. Now, I usually do this in the beginning, and I'm going to do it now. If you don't know how Z Talks works, basically, I ask you questions. At the very end, I'll ask you a question that you can answer to me. And in the comments, I go into the previous Z Talks video, and I read your questions, and I answer them. And typically, at the beginning of these videos, I'll go back and read some of the responses. And you know, I'm going to start off with one of the things I asked, where I was asking you, what was your favorite series on the channel? And there's certainly quite a bit of people saying Subnautica, which I expected because I feel like that was just a special series on the channel. But I was surprised with some of the other answers. You know, some said Home Sweet Home, Detroit Become Human. Some were just saying Z Talks is their favorite. I know quite a bit of you actually Z Talks is your favorite thing, which is kind of funny considering it's supposed to be a gaming channel, but I get like, you know, sometimes you kind of vibe with someone pretty well, and maybe we vibe kind of well, and you like, I want to hear what you think about so-and-so. Oh, there's also some Minecrafts in there, and some people said Almost the Forest, which, God, so I kind of want to go back and play that sometimes. Same thing with Minecraft. I don't know. It's just, you know. But you know, it's super cool, and it's interesting that the ones that I personally liked a lot, it seemed that you guys also liked a lot. Maybe it's because my like passion for it showing and kind of made you like it more. But obviously, like, sometimes it just doesn't do well enough, and I can't really, you know, it's just hard to continue a series that is barely getting any kind of traction. And so there's two things I look for, and that doesn't necessarily need to meet both criteria. One is obviously like if it reaches 1,500 views or more, then I'm like, okay, well, that's more than normal. It'd be nice, obviously, if it reached like Mario Maker view level stuff, but I don't really expect that. And the other thing is if the like to view ratio is 10%, in other words, like if there's 150 views, but there's 15 likes or more, etc., then that kind of shows that a lot of people liked it. So some series, like the first episode I put out of Visage Chapter 2, got a ton of likes. Well, you know, it was above that 10%. It was sitting at like 14 or so. And that shows, oh man, they really like this one. Same thing with some Mario videos. I can tell when I put more effort in some Mario videos when I edit and whatnot. Like sometimes it'll be like a 13% like ratio. And I'm like, oh, they really like this. But then sometimes it's like 5. And I'm like, okay, there's something about this I didn't really like. You know, that's because I can't trust dislikes because sometimes they're just trolly. So I kind of go off of like how much people went out of their way to like a video. And so when I'm doing a series and I see that it's under that 10%, or like, you know, maybe it's 9 or so, it's fine. But if I see that it's way under that, then I'm like, okay, well, clearly they don't like it that much. So that's usually a good indicator for me to be like, there's not enough interest in this. So seriously, if you like a video or a series or whatever, and I'm not just talking about for me, but for any channel in general, like you should just like it, you know, so that way that's the best way you can tell them you're loving it. And obviously there's like a comment too, but you still like to see a good amount of people liking it. Okay, now reading into more specific responses. First up, we have Super Pro Cam, and this is when I was asking what's your most like anticipated thing that you saw from E3, and this person mentioned, not including Cyberpunk 2077 because obviously it's, I mean, fucking phenomenal looking, was the Final Fantasy VII remake and also the Banjo-Kazooie DLC announcement for Smash Bros. They did mention how they're not a fan of Final Fantasy VII becoming, you know, episodic. And so I'm one of those people who, I've never played Final Fantasy VII. Obviously, I've gotten spoiled to death for me. Speaking of death, spoil. But, like, I just have a hard time getting to JRPGs because they're so grindy and just kind of different. But I've always admired them, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, I see them and I'm like, God, I kind of want to play one. But then I start to and I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is a slow burn. Final Fantasy X was the only Final Fantasy I played, aside from a little bit of 15, but that just kind of wasn't... The combat just didn't feel good to me. So for Final Fantasy VII, I am kind of intrigued, and I want to hear an updated version of Sephiroth's theme, but I don't know. And like you said, the episodic thing, especially if they decide to make each episode $60, that's going to be a total ripoff. Like, if they're going to do it, it should be each be like 20 or 15 or something. Because while they are putting a lot of effort into this, and I'm sure they're adding new stuff, this is still an old game. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to... It's kind of hard to feel like that $60 is justified. Then again, so was the Resident Evil 2 remake, and that was fantastic. So, yeah, $20 each if they do 3 episodes, I think would be reasonable, but still, just why not the whole thing? This is just a it's just a random one that I didn't expect. Can't Be Q, when again, going back to the favorite series thing, said, my favorite video of yours was a really random one about slapping the spaghetti. Still watch them from time to time to get a good laugh. That's just that's not one I was anticipating, but that was a hilarious video. When I was editing it, I was laughing. I think there's not a lot of videos where while I'm editing I'm also laughing. Like, there's some times during some parts, like I think recently in Visage, I kind of chuckled at something that happened or I said or something. But the spaghetti one, Getting Over It, and Happy Wheels? No, not Happy Wheels. What's the one that's kind of like Happy Wheels but 3D? Whatever that... Fuck, I can't remember what that's called. But those 3 games are ones that stand out to me right off the top of my head that I did laugh at during editing that like probably not a lot of people have watched. So I'm glad you enjoyed that. Oh, and just a side note, for those of you who like, you keep hearing me say about how great Subnautica is and stuff like that, and you're like, should I, shouldn't I? Like, if you're interested in Subnautica, I'd suggest playing it first for sure, and definitely get on that, because this is a great game. Or just watch a couple episodes of mine, or just someone, and at any point, if you feel like you want to play it, stop, because it's something you should experience the first time. But I would highly recommend checking out the series that's on this channel. I think is really good, or just playing it yourself. Okay, and for the last one that I'm responding to your answers, a decent amount of you had given me your thoughts on Deja Vu and what it was, what it meant, and what you've heard about it. And all of them were pretty interesting. Some kind of or more or less the same, but I'm going to go with one that's a little shorter, just because some answers are kind of long, and I did read them all, and it's like I said, it's super interesting, and I like reading those. But Dylan Steffens, I'm sorry, I'm butchering the shit out of that. Regarding Deja Vu, I did read this post that says, I think that perhaps we travel to different moments from our lives in our dreams, and moments of Deja Vu are literally moments we've already seen. We've caught up to something we've already observed. So it feels familiar even though it's never happened. This is the best way someone has explained it to me. And see, that's super interesting. It's basically like layered universes almost, where they're connected but they're not, you know what I mean? I guess there's always a point where that universe, assuming you're going through some sort of branching universe theory, at some point that branch was probably part of your universe. So at that moment of branch, like, I don't know, it's so bizarre to think about. But then, like, I mean, this is just me going slightly off topic, but if there are branching universes, then the event, at some point, there has to be an original universe line, you know what I mean? Like, where the universe started, and then at what point things started to branch off due to different decisions and whatnot. So somewhere is some, like, true universal line, and I'm kind of curious, like, where we are on that, if that's the case. Like, what's the chances of us being still on the true universe line, or are we at just some branch of a branch of a branch of a branch, etc., etc.? Or has that branch, the initial universe line, already ended due to some ridiculous circumstances? I don't know. It's pretty interesting, and it kind of makes me have an existential crisis. But I get those every now and then, so it's fine. Now we move on to your questions for today. Let us start with Dylan Snaman. Have you ever played Superhot console or VR, and do you ever plan on having it on the channel? Now, I do... Actually, no, I don't think I have a video on it. I thought I did for a second, but I'm pretty sure I don't. And I do have it on, in VR, and I don't know how far into the game I am. I'm fairly far. If you have played it, I'm probably like 2 missions after when you start to get the power to blow people's heads up. And as for putting on the channel, like, that would be cool. It's just one of those games, though, where it doesn't translate as well watching versus playing. So, yeah, I mean, if you guys seem interested, just let me know in the comments, and I might put out a video of that. Next up, we got Ray saying, you ever have a situation where a game you love got a bad rep and didn't do well? I loved Anthem, I even got the platinum in the game, but people constantly complained about the game from day one without allowing the devs the opportunity to fix their mistakes. I understand it was buggy, but it was trying something new, and I got tired of seeing every tweet about it flooded with haters who haven't even played the game, trying their best to dissuade new people from trying it out. So, in other words, I'm going to kind of shorten this and paraphrase a bit, but like, have you ever liked a game and enjoyed it, even though like it has a bad rep and it's somewhat unjustified? At least, in your eyes, it seems fairly unjustified. And to answer your question, yes, absolutely. Anthem was one of them. I mean, I am at the point currently where I do look at Anthem and I say, why am I playing this? But I also thought that with like Destiny and Diablo, where it's supposed to be like this open-ended thing where you just get loot. But then I'm thinking, why am I getting this loot though? Like, for what purpose am I powering up? I don't care just to go to a new difficulty. I want to power up so that I can face this boss, or power up so I can go do this raid or something. And a lot of games feel purposeless. So I did start feeling like that with Anthem. But, however, the core of the game I thought was super solid. And the devs kind of got fucked over by the higher-ups in there. I'm sure you've heard the story, how the devs didn't even realize what game they were making up until the trailer came out for E3, and then like, that's our game apparently. So yeah, I feel you, and there are definitely bandwagon haters. People just kind of, or more like sheeple, the phrase sheeple. There just becomes this idea that flows through the internet, and people just kind of latch onto it, and that's just kind of how the hive mind works, I guess. And that's not even just gaming. I mean, that's just a lot of things in the world in general, and it's super annoying. Like, especially once you come to I don't want to say you're woke fam, but like, there comes a point where you might realize what's going on, and you start to notice it more, and then you think, man, like, this person or this movie or whatever really doesn't deserve this flack, but people kind of like are acting like it's just, I don't know, it's just like how everyone perceives it. I mean, honestly, a good example is the channel here, how like I copy Dashi, you know what I mean? Because despite Dashi and I having some similarities, it's just because my reaction was to Dashi that people will perceive what I'm doing as a copy to that. Whereas if I was, reacting to Markiplier, despite me acting the exact same, they'll say, no, you're copying Markiplier. They'll look for similarities. So they get that in their heads preemptively, and it affects their judgment later. And that's just people, man. It sucks, but that's just how people are with everything in the world. And a lot of people are incapable of critical thinking, and they're incapable of stepping back and assessing a situation and really coming up with their own answer to things based off of what they see in front of them, and based off of thinking, the circumstances of their subject. So in other words, the people who watch me, they don't stop to think, is this how he's always acted? Can I go back to earlier videos? Can I go to later videos now that I've, caught up maybe today? Has he always been the same, etc.? But they don't want to go through the time of doing that. They don't want to investigate. They just want to see, they just come to a conclusion right then and there. And that's just how people are, unfortunately. A bit of a rant, I'm sorry, but it is super frustrating when you see that a lot. Oi! Quit drinking out of the toilet! Either a dog or Dooney's drinking out of the toilet right now. Oh, I took a dookie in there just a little bit ago. Just before recording this video, I took a dookie because I knew I'm not going to hold it in during the video. Sir Dioff asks, I think I asked this a while ago when you first resurfaced. But can you please tell me about the swords you have? Because damn, they look cool. Yes, I can. Alright, first up, we have your standard longsword that you might see a Viking use or something like that. This is not battle ready. not very sharp. It would still fucking hurt to get bludgeoned with this over the head. So, don't do that. Next up, we have my katana, and this one is battle ready, so it is very sharp, and I am not going to smack my hand against the blade because I am not a complete moron, only sometimes, and usually when I'm playing Mario Maker. So, this is, I've had a lot of fun with the katana. My dad had a lemon tree in his backyard, and my friend and I, we would go back and grab 10 lemons each, and we would take turns throwing them at each other and seeing who can cut the most, and that was always fun. This one's my favorite weapon. Here is a spear, also battle ready, very sharp, and the head, as you can see, very gnarly, would probably pull out your intestines, and this is about 6 feet long, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing and stab my computer. But if you can see here, let me point that to the camera, the tip of it is like a dragon talons, kind of like closed together. Don't know if I focused in on it, but I really like the spear, super cool. I'll show you this one last thing, which is this dagger. It's like a star skull tip. Ow. Ow, it's sharp also. And there's the blade part. Also battle ready. If you couldn't tell, I'm ready to kill. I'm ready to murder anyone that gets into my house, but my dog will probably do it first. I don't know, just like collecting swords. They're much more interesting than guns, in my opinion. I mean, first of all, by just appearance alone, I feel like it's more aesthetically pleasing. Plus, I mean, a gun is so 2019. I want to go back to the good old days where we used swords and magic. You know, back then, we used magic a lot. I shouldn't flow this around. It's very dangerous. Don't do that. I have one other knife somewhere that I usually use to open my boxes, but I'm too lazy to go find it. Bella asked, I noticed you don't have an Instagram. Is that because you like to keep that private, or have you just never gotten into Instagram? And I've just never really cared about it. Like, as far as I know, Instagram is just where you show pictures and just be like, look at my dog, look at my cat. But we're on a platform currently where I can show pictures every, 60 of them every second. So I'll just stick with that and occasionally throw my dog into a video. Like, she'll literally just be thrown from off screen. She'll be like, God damn it, I hate this guy. Next up, we have Pedantic asking, cereal or milk first? You just want to see what kind of savage I really am, don't you? Well, here's what I do. I take my katana, I put the milk down, I cut it in half. Milk spills everywhere, but I don't give a fuck. And I grab a fistful of cereal out of the chest of my enemy. I usually store it in there. I dunk it into the milk, and I just shove it into my mouth. That's what I do typically. So I guess milk first, right? Yeah. Next up, Aristides, one of the funnest names to say. Funnest, most fun, whatever. Shut the fuck up. I'm sorry. I shouldn't act like that. Jesus. Have you ever watched Game of Thrones? If yes, what did you think of the finale? Do you even watch any series? I guess like series in general. No, I've seen the first 2.5 seasons of Game of Thrones, I want to say. I've heard about the finale from everyone. Like, not what happened specifically. Well, okay, I've heard what happened more or less. But I'm just so conflicted on whether I want to give it a shot. Just because it's such a commitment. Every episode's 40 something minutes, and I don't know if I want to watch it. And as for other series, well, the problem with Western series, series here in America, is we like to really, okay, to be fair, this is series anywhere, but here in particular, we like to really wring series dry. Like The Walking Dead or Breaking Bad, those should have been 3, maybe 4 seasons and then stopped. And at that point we would have been like, wow, what a great series. Kind of sucks that it's over. But now at this point we're just fucking Christ. I'm done. I'm over it. You know what I mean? And we just kind of ruined it. So with both those series I just named, Breaking Bad and Walking Dead, I watched, again, 2-3 seasons or so. And then I was like, this is the same bullshit over and over again. They're just in a different location. So now I'm kind of at the point where I watch a lot of YouTube videos. Just random stuff things that this video here. I like to watch stuff like this where someone's talking about a topic, and I like to just hear more thoughts about it and enhance my horizon. And I watch anime. I like to play games, but as far as like, I'm not that guy who goes to Netflix and just watches series. Not that that's like a bad thing. I'm not like, shitting on you for doing that. It's just I have a hard time latching on to stuff nowadays. Oh, speaking of anime, if any of you are anime fans, has anyone watched Vinland Saga yet? Damn, that show was good. It's interesting too how it's so historically accurate for the most part. Obviously some exaggerations here and there, and assumptions, but I was like, whew, this is really good. Also, I'm gonna stop and apologize right now. Typically, I would like to crop out the comment and put it up next to me or something, so that way you can see it up on screen, and I don't know, just kind of showing their comment more. But since I'm going to read more comments right now, I'm going to skip doing that because like it's already nearing midnight for me and I have to be up somewhat soon. So I'm going to try to save time where I can. Apologies for being a little lazy with that. Chris Cool asks, when do you think the next gen consoles are coming out and what else could they possibly add to make it marketable? A flying Xbox? So as for the next gen consoles, what I'm annoyed by is when they're like, oh yeah, it's 8K and it can reach fucking this many frame rates and look at the loading time in this game that's notoriously long loading times right now. And it's like, okay, that's cute, but once the developers get their hand on this new console, they're gonna make the most out of it that they can, and the loading times are gonna be just as long as they are now. So it's not gonna change a whole lot other than allowing for higher fidelity and more pretty graphics in games. But as far as like loading times are concerned, I don't think it's gonna be that much of a jump. Unless they do some sort of, they learn more tricks to where they can load while you're in an elevator and shit like that. But I don't imagine Grand Theft Auto 6 having any better loading times than it does right now, because holy shit, they're garbage. With that said, I am still looking forward to what they can do with it, for sure. I just hope that they don't always have to cram pack everything into graphics. They can go with a more stylized approach, like a Breath of the Wild, but to make up for that, like lack of intensity in terms of graphics, they can do a higher frame rate or more body count. That came out way wrong. I don't mean murder a lot of people. I just meant more people on screen that may or may not be alive. I guess it's irrelevant, but you know what I'm saying. Or hear me out. This is gonna fucking blow your mind. You're gonna be like, I never even thought that was a possibility. Like, this has never happened in existence. They just give you the option between performance or graphics. 60 FPS or 4K? Shit, you can do both if you can pull it off. But if I just had the option, I don't even want to think about a world like that. Kento, asking, will there be more Outer Wilds? And I'm sorry, but no. That's because, again, going back to previously when I mentioned what I look for in terms of continuing a series, this was not meeting either criteria. And it's super unfortunate because I started playing it on my own. Like, I could just basically continued from then. And oh my god, that game is super good. Like, that could have rivaled Subnautica, for sure. And I'm pretty upset that I didn't just keep going anyway, or just record it and hold it just in case people wanted it again or something like that. But I'm probably close to beating the game, and I don't want to go through and fake my reactions to things or something. I want them to be genuine. I will never be that person who's like, looks up a video of how to play something and then pretends like I'm surprised by it. I just can't be that. Like, if I have to look up how to do something on a game, I'll be like, hey, I had to look this up real quick so I kind of know what's happening. I think I did that in one series where I got super stuck. I can't remember what, but so that's why I'm not going to go back to that, unfortunately. Boyk asks, have you ever thought about doing a series on an old game from like the PlayStation 2, GameCube, older PC era? I haven't, mainly because I am a scumbag and chasing those sexy views and doing new games, but clearly it's not working out. So maybe that's not a bad idea, honestly. It's just I don't know what to play. The thing is, when I was a kid, I had this like Blockbuster pass. If you kids probably don't know what Blockbuster is, but it's a pretty historic thing where you get games and movies and stuff. But anyway, moving on. basically I could go and return a game to get a game back at any point. I was playing a lot of games. So all the classics, or at least the games I think I'd be interested in, I already played. And again, I like having initial reactions on the channel, so you can see my just pure and unfiltered enjoyment and adrenaline during them, you know what I mean? And okay, whew, that was a longer video than I was anticipating. I mean, I don't know how long it'll be for you guys in the end. Hopefully I'm condensing it to a more reasonable size. But there's a lot to go through, and I want, you know, while we're still a small channel, I want to try to get through as many of your questions as I can. Obviously, if we were like getting 100,000 plus views on a video with like thousands of comments, I couldn't do this. I couldn't go through and read everyone's comments. I wouldn't have that time. So it's kind of nice right now to be able to do that, even though even right now it's still pushing it. So I'm sorry that some of these videos are so long, but if you made it to this point, thanks for sticking around. It means a lot. It's really cool to see that. But I guess I should move on to my question to you guys. Obviously, anything I've discussed to this point, you can go ahead and elaborate your thoughts further, and I will be sure to read that in the next video. But for my question is, has there ever been a twist to the formula on any existing game that you thought would just totally make it amazing? For example, recently I started to think for the Pokemon series, while clearly the new Pokemon they're adding, or have added at least, are not very creative compared to the original 151. Maybe I'm just old school and I think that. But imagine they come out with a Pokemon game where it's a parallel universe, let's say, and you get only the original 151, or maybe even just the original like 70-ish or so, you know, just the more popular ones. Because what if you could fuse any two Pokemon together to create a new Pokemon? And I'm not saying like fuse already fused Pokemon, because that would just get out of hand. But I remember ever since I first saw the Mewtwo movie, when he fused Venusaur, Blastoise, and Charizard all together, I was like, what? I need this. So if instead of just introducing new Pokemon, like brand spanking new, they just were like, hey, here's something familiar, but here's a world that's different and a mechanic that can totally change things. Okay, but we're going to stop here. I don't want the video to go on too long. Hopefully this is like around 20 minutes max. Probably going to be more than that. Apologies. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Feel free to answer anything that we've talked about in this one. And don't forget, if there's a creator out there or a video that you really liked, be sure to like it, because that really, you know, I'm not saying this as just a slogan that I say just every every video, because you know I usually don't say stuff like this. But seriously, if you like a video, like it, and that tells them, hey, I want to see more of this, and that could help continue series moving forward here or any other channel. So just keep that in mind. But hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.